Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So we got this really interesting source from a listener, Keeping the Breath in Mind in Lessons in Samadhi by Ajaan Lee Dhammadharo.
Yes, a classic from the Thai Force tradition.
And our mission really is to unpack it for you. It's all about practical guidance on breath meditation and mind training.
Exactly. Not just theory, but how-to stuff.
Yeah.
Things you can actually try.
Right. And the idea is to give you those key insights, without making it feel overwhelming.
Because it's dense, but very practical. Ajahn Lee's teachings come straight from his own deep experience.
He was a renowned Thai forest monk, right? Translated by Anasaro Bhikkhu.
That's him. So the guidance is really grounded.
Okay, so what we'll do is cover the core ideas, like centering the mind. And then he presents two different meditation methods in the book. We'll look at both.
And some key lessons about the practice itself.
So the goal for this deep dive, give you actionable insights, drawing straight from Ajaan Lee for cultivating a more centered, maybe even liberated mind.
Sounds good. It's a powerful text. What's striking is how direct he is.
Yeah.
It really feels like a toolkit. The breath is the main tool, and it's about using it effectively. Personal effort, seeing for yourself, that's the vibe.
Okay, let's get into that first method then. You said it's more structured.
Yeah, kind of a gradual approach. It starts, interestingly, with paying respect.
To the triple gem, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha.
Exactly, and taking refuge in them. It's like setting the stage, setting your intention.
Creating a framework, maybe.
That's a good way to put it. Then there's the physical posture.
Right. Sitting. What does he recommend?
Half lotus, if you can manage it comfortably, or just cross-legged. The key is a straight back, hands in the lap.
And that's not just for show, is it? It helps the mind.
Absolutely. A stable body supports a still mind. It's foundational.
And before you even get to the breath, there's a mental step too.
Yeah, contemplating the qualities of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, silently repeating those words.
Kind of tuning the mind, perhaps.
Exactly. Grounding yourself in those positive principles before you start the main practice. Cultivating good mental states right away.
Okay. Then we get to the breath itself with the Buddha mantra. How does that work?
So you start by mentally saying bud as you breathe in and do as you breathe out.
Just like that.
Well, you do 10 pairs like that. In and out counts as 1.
10 times, okay.
Then you switch slightly. You just think the whole word Buddha with each full breath cycle in and out together.
And you count those too.
Yeah, but fewer. 7 times. Then 5 times. Then just 3 times.
Ah, so the counting reduces. It's like you're weaning yourself off it.
Exactly. That's a great way to see it. The counting is an anchor at first for that initial mental chatter. As it decreases, you rely more on the feeling of the breath.
Which leads to the next step.
Right. After the counting stops, you just observe the natural breath. Still using the mental note. Bud on the in-breath, O on the out.
So the focus shifts from the counting to just awareness of the breath with the mantra.
Gentle awareness. And Ajahn Lee really emphasizes stillness here and a broad awareness.
Not forcing it.
Definitely not. No forceful concentration. He uses that analogy.
Oh, the post at the edge of the sea.
That's the one. Just standing firm, letting the waves, the thoughts, sensations come and go without being moved. Steady presence, no strain.
I like that. So from that relaxed awareness, does the Buddha eventually fade?
Yes, it naturally drops away as the focus sharpens on just the pure sensation of the breath moving.
But method 1 gets more specific, doesn't it?
Yeah.
With these bases of the breath, what are they for?
He presents them as points to refine awareness further, and he suggests they can help develop intuitive powers, Yanja.
Interesting. So how does that work, the first bases?
The first and second bases involve shifting your focus. You move it back and forth between the tip of your nose and the middle of your forehead.
Back and forth, how many times?
7 times. Then you let the attention rest right there at the middle of the forehead.
Like tracing a path with your mind.
Kind of, yeah. Calibrating your focus, then you move on.
To the third base. Where's that?
Middle of the top of the head. And you do the same thing. Move the focus between the forehead and the top of the head 7 times. Then let it settle at the top.
Okay. Nose to forehead, forehead to top of head. Then
the fourth base. The middle of the brain. Same process. Move attention between the top of the head and the middle of the brain 7 times. Then settle it there.
The middle of the brain. That sounds like a key point.
It is. Because he mentions that here you might start experiencing things called nimitta. Signs.
Signs, like what?
Sensations may be heat, cold, tingling, or even visual things like lights or images.
Okay. And what do you do with those?
That's the crucial part. He says, don't get attached. Don't be bothered or excited.
Just let them be.
Pretty much. And if one becomes distracting or unpleasant, he gives a specific instruction.
Which is?
Take a few deep breaths, consciously directing them down towards your heart. He says the unwanted nimitta will just fade away.
Ah, so it reinforces that idea. These are just mental events, not the goal.
Exactly. Non-attachment is key. Then he suggests focusing on a nimitta that feels comfortable, often a bright white light.
Focus on it. And do what?
He even suggests expanding it mentally, making it fill your whole head.
Why would you do that?
He proposes it can have a cleansing effect, physically, maybe purifying the blood, reducing pain. It's this idea of mind influencing body.
Interesting. Then where does the light go?
You move it down to the fifth base, the center of the chest, let it spread through the chest, and then eventually through the whole body.
And more images might appear then, like body parts.
Yes, that can happen, and the instruction is the same. Don't latch onto them. If they're distracting, use long, smooth breaths to let them go.
The focus always comes back to the breath.
To the refined feeling of the breath, now suffusing the whole body. Singular focus.
And as you get deeper into this, what happens?
Ajaan Lee describes a sense of knowledge unfolding. The body might feel very light, the mind calm and rested.
Like a physical pleasure and mental ease.
Yes, sukha and passaddhi, a new kind of equilibrium.
And he says, mastering this lets you generate that light nimitta whenever you want.
That's the claim. And use it as a tool. By stilling the mind and focusing, insights can arise.
Okay, but then he makes this distinction about the type of knowledge, right? Mundane versus transcendent.
It's a very important distinction. Mundane knowledge, Lokia, is the knowledge tied up with our usual perceptions, our attachments. It's constructed.
So it's impermanent.
Inherently so, because it arises from conditioned states. That's a key insight itself, recognizing the impermanence of this kind of knowing.
And the aim is to move towards transcendent knowledge, Lokuttara.
Right, the knowledge that leads towards liberation.
How do you move in that direction, according to this method?
By gathering all your experiences, all that mundane knowledge, into a single point of focus at Kagataramanya.
Like bringing everything together.
Yes, and then seeing the common nature of it all,
Which is?
that it arises and passes away, it's impermanent, ultimately stressful, dukkha, and not truly self-anatta.
And the instruction then is crucial.
Let go. Release the clinging. Clinging to the knowledge itself. Clinging to your preoccupations. Let things be as they are.
Understanding that the knower is separate from the known.
That's a core part of it. Cultivating that detached awareness. Clinging, even to good states or insights, binds you.
So he boils method 1 down to 5 basic steps for reaching peace, Santidhamma.
Yes. First, get rid of bad preoccupations. Simple enough, but not easy.
Second.
Dwell on good ones. Cultivate positive mental states.
Third. Gather those good states into meditative absorption, jhana. We'll get more into that later.
Sure. Fourth, see even that absorption as impermanent, stressful, not self. Anicca, dukkha, anatta.
And fifth.
Let all preoccupations go. Let them follow their nature. Understand that knowing is just knowing. It's separate from the object.
That's a clear progression. Refine the mind, then detach from its content.
And he notes the 2 types of results. Immediate well-being, which is great, but also the potential for that ultimate liberation, nibbana.
Okay, so that's method 1. Quite detailed, quite structured. But he offers another way. Method 2, which you said might feel easier for some.
Yes, he suggests it's often more relaxing. It starts differently.
How so?
Just 3 or 7 long, slow breaths. Again, using bud on the inhale, do on the exhale, but syncing the syllable with the whole length of the breath.
Ah, matching the sound of the breath to duration.
Right. Establishing a calm rhythm right away.
That's step 2.
Simple awareness. Just be clearly aware of each in-breath, each out-breath. Back to basics.
Okay, and step 3 gets into observing the breath more closely.
Yeah, you really check in with it. Is it comfortable? Is it deep or shallow? Smooth or obstructed? Fast or slow? Warm or cool?
And the point isn't just to notice.
No, the point is to adjust it, gently guide it towards whatever feels most comfortable and easeful for you in that moment.
That feels like a key difference. Finding comfort within the practice.
Huge emphasis on that in method 2. No forcing, find the ease.
Once you find that comfortable breath, what's next? Step 4.
You spread that feeling, that comfortable breath sensation.
Spread it where?
To different body parts. He gives specific paths. Base of the skull, down the spine, then down one leg, then the other, then down the arms.
Like a body scan, but using the breath feeling.
Exactly. He also mentions directing it down the front of the body from the throat, from the chest.
To release tension throughout the system.
That seems to be the idea, promoting flow and well-being, and then connecting all those flows, letting them merge.
Okay, step 5 brings back the idea of bases.
Yes, but maybe more as options. Tip of the nose, middle of the head, palate, base of the throat, breastbone, navel area. You find the one that feels most comfortable as your focal point.
And there's a caution here too.
Same as before, really. If you have headaches or nervous issues, maybe avoid focusing too high up, like above the throat. And always, don't force the breath. Ease is paramount.
Step 6 is about awareness.
Spreading that conscious feeling, that breath awareness throughout the entire body. A holistic sense of presence.
And the final step, 7.
Uniting all those breath sensations, letting them flow together comfortably, maintaining a broad, open awareness.
And he says this leads to knowing more about the breath.
Yeah, you become more sensitive to its different qualities, both the ones that feel good and maybe signs of imbalance or discomfort.
So method 2 feels much more embodied, more about comfort and integration. What are the main goals of these 7 steps?
He sums it up as twofold. First, improving your body's energy, helping you deal with illness or pain.
Physical well-being.
And second, clarifying your inner awareness, your inner knowing, which becomes the foundation for insight and liberation.
Body and mind working together.
Definitely. Then he uses this analogy. Preparing your house before guests arrive.
What's that about?
It's about how to handle the incidentals that pop up in meditation.
Like the Namitta again. And he mentions vagrant breaths.
Exactly. Unusual sensations, sights, sounds, smells, sudden thoughts, the guests. His point is, get your house in order first. Stabilize your mind, stabilize your awareness of the comfortable breath before you start paying too much attention to these guests. Build that foundation.
But you can engage with them. He talks about putting them through their paces.
Yes. If your concentration is stable, you can intentionally interact with the nimitta. Change its size, make it appear or disappear, move it closer or farther away.
Why do that? Is it like a mental exercise?
It's about developing mastery, understanding that these are mental projections. They arise in your awareness. It shows you they aren't solid or independent.
And gaining this mastery, he suggests, can lead to other things.
Potentially, yes. Heightened sensory abilities, seeing without eyes, hearing distant sounds, that kind of thing. Or developing the eye of intuition, the nakakaku.
Which allows for
Remembering past lives, knowing where beings are reborn, and crucially, cleansing the mind of defilements.
asavas. But the attitude towards these experiences is key, right?
Absolutely. Observe them neutrally. Be circumspect. Don't get carried away, whether pleased or upset. Maintain that balanced awareness.
And he connects this understanding of breath and incidentals to the 4 noble truths.
Yes, and even to relieving physical pain. He calls mindfulness the medicine and the breath the solvent. Deep awareness brings understanding and healing potential,
A purified breath leads to well-being.
which settles the mind, building the strength of concentration, samadhi bala. And that strength is what gives rise to discernment, to wisdom.
And he gives that really direct way of seeing the 4 noble truths in the breath itself. Can you recap that?
Sure, the in and out breath itself is stress, dukkha, because it's constantly arising and passing, impermanent.
The cause of stress, samudaya.
Not being aware of the breath, being lost in distraction.
The end of stress, nirodha.
Clearly seeing all aspects of the breath, its arising, its passing, its nature, and letting go of clinging to it.
And the path, magga.
Constant mindfulness, sati, and alertness, sampajanya, focused right on the breath. It makes those profound truths very immediate, very experiential.
In release, true liberation is when the mind isn't attached.
To anything. Causes, effects, high states, low states, knowledge, even the act of knowing itself. It's seeing sabi dhamma anatta, all phenomena are not self.
He also warns about different kinds of clinging.
Right, clinging to sense pleasures, kamupadana, clinging to fixed views, dihupadana, clinging to rules and rituals just for their own sake, silabhatupana.
And he contrasts the Buddha's mastery with just letting go because you don't have anything.
Yeah, emphasizing that genuine letting go comes from developing virtue, concentration, and discernment fully. It's letting go from abundance, not poverty.
He strongly advises not dismissing these three: virtue, concentration, discernment.
Saying that centering the mind is actually the cure for ignorance, for the insanity of our usual distracted state.
And true discernment isn't just intellectual.
Not at all. It arises naturally from the training, like a cut jewel shining its own light pakata, known individually. He warns against imitation wisdom.
The monkey in the mirror analogy.
Exactly. Just reflective concepts isn't the same as genuine insight born from a trained, radiant mind, like a diamond that can penetrate anything.
And he cautions against jumping to concepts like impermanence too quickly.
Yeah, he says you need to understand their counterparts first, through practice. What feels constant? What feels like pleasure? What feels like self? Understand that fully first.
Know things completely before letting go.
That was the Buddha's way. Understand fully, then release from a place of knowing.
He finishes that section really emphasizing how interconnected virtue, concentration, and discernment are.
Weakness in one hinders the others. You can't have wisdom without a centered mind. It's like a sword out of its scabbard, or a house built on sand. Vulnerable.
It all comes back to laying the groundwork, training the heart and mind.
And that quote, rouse yourself, train your own heart, start pondering your own in and out breath. It puts the responsibility right back on you, the practitioner.
Which is a perfect lead into talking more about jnana, meditative absorption.
Right, which is central to developing that concentration, that centered mind.
So Ajaan Lee defines jhana simply as absorption in a single object.
In this context, yes. Specifically, absorption in the breath.
And he outlines 4 levels. Let's break down the first jhana. It has 5 factors.
5 characteristics, yes. First is vitakka, directed thought. That's gently keeping the mind on the breath, not letting it wander off.
Okay.
Second,
Vicara, evaluation. This is more subtle, sensing how the comfortable breath spreads, how it connects through the body, soothing things, bringing energy.
then the more experiential factors.
Right. Piyati, or rapture. A real sense of fullness, refreshment, even exhilaration in body and mind.
And sukha.
Pleasure or happiness. Physical ease, kaya pasati, and mental contentment, sita pasati. A deep sense of well-being.
And the 5th factor holds it all together.
Ekagataman. Singleness of preoccupation or one-pointedness. The mind stays right there with the breath, stable, comfortable, at rest.
And some of these cause the others. Yeah, vitakka, vikara, and ekagatarama are seen as the causes, the conditions, that lead to the arising of piti and sukha.
Okay, that's the first jhana. How do you move to the second?
The second jhana arises as the mind settles further. Vitakka and vikara, the act of thinking and evaluating, they fade away.
So what's left?
3 factors. Piti, rapture. Sukha, pleasure. And ekagataram, one-pointedness. The focus refines, relying just on that unified attention.
And the third jhana is even more refined.
Yes. Here, even the intensity of piti, the rapture, subsides, leaving just 2 factors.
Which are?
Sukha, pleasure, and ekagataram, one-pointedness. He describes this state as profoundly quiet, body and mind very still. The breath is subtle, refined, maybe a sense of radiance pervades, harmony of the elements.
And the fourth, the final one he describes.
The 4th jhana. Here, even the subtle pleasure sukha fades, replaced by upekkha, equanimity.
So the 2 factors are equanimity and one-pointedness.
Equanimity, upekkha, and ekagataramana, which at this stage is often described as unified mindfulness. The focus is incredibly powerful, unwavering.
What's it like?
The breath might seem almost non-existent, very quiet. The mind is utterly still, neutral. He uses that analogy of a movie screen perfectly reflecting whatever appears, without reacting.
Able to perceive things clearly.
Very clearly, even distant sights or sounds, he suggests. There's a complete unification of the breath sensations. A sense of timelessness, past, present, future feels still.
And there's a strong focus, a light.
Yes, a mental radiance. This can lead to seeing the great frame of reference, where body, feelings, mind, and mental qualities aren't separate things anymore. They're all experienced as one unified field.
The mind becomes very powerful here.
Very centered, firm, truthful. And mindfulness and alertness merge into what's called the Ekyanamaga, the unified path. Great energy, wakefulness, a kind of purifying inner fire, tapas.
And this strong focus allows you to see things clearly.
See the fabricated nature of reality, the elements, the aggregates, khandhas, the sense spaces, ayatana, like an airplane taking pictures, seeing the whole landscape.
And this is where insight arises.
Liberating insight, yes. Vipassana. He also mentions kaya siddhi, potency of the body and resilience of mind.
Can you use this state to gain specific knowledge?
He suggests you can. By focusing the mind forcefully on the breath, like putting a needle on a record, intuitive knowledge about the world or the Dhamma can arise.
And this is where those 8 skills come in, the ones that can arise from mastering the 4th jhana.
Exactly. He lists them out.
Let's quickly recap those.
Okay. 1. Vipassana, that clear insight into arising and passing away. 2. Manomaidi, psychic power influencing things with thought. 3. Iddhavidi, creating visible forms, supernormal powers.
Tibasoda, divine ear, hearing distant sounds.
5. Tidoparinya, knowing others' minds. 6. Pubanivasana, remembering past lives.
Dibakaku, divine eye, seeing subtle phenomena.
And 8. Asavakayanya, the knowledge of the ending of defilements, leading to liberation.
Wow, that's quite a list of potentials.
It is, but again, he brings it back. These arise from centering the mind through the breath. They aren't the goal in themselves, but potential fruits of the path.
The emphasis remains on the training.
Always. Train your own heart, train your own mind. That's the constant refrain.
So, wrapping up this deep dive into Ajaan Lee, the key takeaways seem to be the absolute centrality of breath meditation for centering the mind.
Yeah, and the value of having these 2 distinct methods, one structured, one maybe more flowing and intuitive, something for different temperaments.
And the potential isn't just calmness, but profound insight, maybe even these extraordinary abilities developing through dedicated practice.
And the whole approach is framed as a skill, something practical, accessible. You just need to engage with your own breath.
It really shifts the focus from just reading about enlightenment to actually doing something, focusing on your direct experience, your inner awareness.
That's the heart of the forest tradition, I think. Less emphasis on intellectual gymnastics, more on direct knowing.
Okay, so a final thought for you listening. Just consider, which of these 2 approaches resonates more with you right now? The step-by-step method 1, or the more fluid, comfort-focused method 2?
There's no right or wrong answer, of course.
Absolutely. But maybe just ask yourself, what's one small thing you could do today, even just for a few minutes, to start exploring this power of keeping the breath in mind?
It's worth exploring. We definitely recommend checking out Ajaan Lee's book if this sparked your interest.